Hello everybody and welcome to another webinar here at Avonic. Excited to see so many of you join today. And today, a special webinar about wireless collaboration. And I'm not alone today, actually going to be joined by Jeff Meyer from Mersive. Jeff, hello and thank you so much for joining.
Hey Steven, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. Just for the ones that don't know, you're actually the general manager for EMEA at Mersive Technologies, American company originally, and you're based in Italy, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's where the EMEA office is.
Okay. And so one of the questions that always comes to mind, and I think a lot of people struggle with this, especially when they go on holiday to Italy, which a lot of people in Europe like, is until what time is it actually allowed to order cappuccino in Italy? Because I'm saying this because I've been there a couple of times for work as well. And I kind of noticed that there seems to be like an unofficial time limit on until what time it is actually allowed. Is that true?
Yeah, funny enough, I get this a lot actually. And I've been here for about 20 years now. So I think I've got it down. Basically, as long as it's in the morning, you're safe. After that, you might be looked at a little bit strangely, but you can order it whenever you want. But if you really want to do it the Italian way, order it in the morning.
Order it in the morning. So that's the thing that we need to remember. Jeff, thanks for that. Thanks for clearing that up for me, and I hope for all the attendees as well. We'll get back to you in a few minutes, and we're going to be looking at the Solstice platform in detail later on with a live demo as well. So excited about that. So we'll be back with you in just a couple minutes. For now, just to get started with the webinar, if you've joined for the first time, welcome. This is the Demio platform that you're using. And the Demio platform facilitates a chat window, which is here in this side of your screen. If it's not opened up, you can actually open it up on the top side of your screen. Feel free to put your questions in the chat window. We have people from Mersive and Avonic monitoring the chat window, and of course they will try to answer your questions as quick as we can. If there's questions that we need to relay or figure out or get back to you on later, we'll do that in the webinar follow-up. Just a little bit about the agenda for today. So we're going to be talking today about wireless collaboration together with Mersive. I'll explain you a little bit about Avonic, who we are, what we do. We'll look at some of the products which are very interesting in combination with Mersive, but also for general video conference type applications. And then we'll also look at a quick introduction about Mersive and their products. And then Jeff is actually going to stand up from his desk and walk to, I think, another room in the building where he's going to do a demo of the Solstice Conference platform together with an Avonic CM22. After that, we'll get back and we'll kind of summarize everything. I'm sure I'm going to have a couple of questions for Jeff, and he might have some for me. And then we'll also talk about the AV show at Avonic that's going to start here soon. So that's the agenda for today's meeting. Before we get started, Avonic, we are a Dutch-based manufacturer of PTZ cameras. We're founded about 13 years ago, and our background is in AV distribution. We are in charge of product design, manufacturing, warehousing, sales, and support, all done from our HQ in the Netherlands. And we have an absolute focus on Pro AV installations. And with Pro AV installations, we mean everywhere where your camera is installed in a room. It needs to blend in with the room design. The architect needs to be happy. The interior designer needs to be happy. That's really our core focus. Our products are being used in other markets, but from a design perspective, we focus very much on these applications. Currently, we have distribution in about 30 countries worldwide through distribution and direct relationships with resellers, and we're available worldwide, basically. I wanted to talk a little bit about applications, because applications for wireless collaboration or video conference focused cameras are pretty wide. They're in different scenarios, right? Boardroom, this is actually a project that we've done a while ago. Pretty high-end boardroom, multiple cameras in the room. But also education. So education right now, in some countries, we've already seen online and hybrid learning going on. Some countries, education was basically forced into this situation. This is an example of one of our customers in Romania, actually, where they're doing hybrid learning. So there's a point of this installation being provided to the customer. They were doing hybrid learning, so there were people or students in this classroom, another classroom, but also online. And our cameras are also, of course, also used for huddle rooms. These are going to play a very important role in the return to work, so meeting rooms and huddle rooms when we are finally able to actually get back to the office. Of course, we're involved in high-end meetings, conferencing especially, but this is an example of where one of our cameras is actually being used for a high-end meeting facility. Of course, the traditional video conference with a soundbar, a screen, and just a small meeting room, and of course also desktop video conferencing. So these are kind of typical applications that you'll see, and there's, of course there are many more, but this is just a quick overview of what we see as the most common applications and use cases for our product. Then to take a closer look at the products at Avonic we have for video conferencing and for collaboration solutions, such as the Solstice solution from Mersive, our CM22, a 4K huddle room camera, the CM44, a 5x optical zoom a PTZ camera with IP and serial control, and for instance also our UAX150 USB extender kits, which you can use if the camera is further away from the desk, or applications where you basically need to extend the USB single. A little bit of a closer look into these two products. So the CM22, the small wide angle video conference camera, it has a bunch of smart automatic and manual modes, and this is kind of important for situations where you have challenging light conditions. It is digital zoom, does allow you to zoom in. Of course, at one point when you have reached the limit of native zooming in and you have more than two times zoom active, you will start losing quality, but it is digital zoom, so you can still do that. Digital pan, tilt and zoom, and up to 9 presets that you can configure, which is very nice in meeting rooms. 4K 30 on HDMI output as well, so it has both USB and HDMI. So if you have another need for recording or any other situations where you need to integrate maybe with a matrix switcher, it allows you to use that HDMI output. It is USB 3.0 with backwards compatibility, of course, to 2.0, built-in microphone, and of course compatible with the UAX150. Then the full size, the PTZ camera, the one that I showed you earlier, is the CM44. This is a wide angle camera with a high quality glass lens in it and an 83.7 degree opening angle. So really focused on the medium and small size meeting rooms. And the cool thing about it is it's also controllable over IP. So this means if you have a Crestron or AMX or any other system, you can control this camera simply over IP. Plus, it also has up to 255 presets, so pretty flexible for your installation. That's a quick overview on the products here at Avonic that are interesting for this application. Of course, the CM22 and CM44 are a great combination with the Solstice solution for Mersive. I think, Jeff, I kind of want to hand it over back to you to see if you can give us an overview on Mersive as a company and the products that you have for wireless collaboration.
Sounds great. Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, so, I'm not sure how many people here today are familiar with us, but we've been around for a while. Since around 2014 is when we officially launched the product that we have today called Solstice. And what we're about is, as it says here, we're using sort of ubiquitous to on-demand collaboration software and team space analytics to improve how we meet and work together. And that has certainly evolved over time, especially during recent time. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that, I think, later as we do some Q&A. But we're pretty well established. We're based in Denver, Colorado. We have about 3 million users worldwide, 8,000 customers, and about 150,000 rooms. And we're, like Avonic, we're pretty well situated in most countries, so you'll find us just about everywhere. The company was founded out of academic research, and the interesting thing to talk about here is that we were discovered actually by the Central Intelligence Agencies in the US, and they found interest to the point where they actually invested. They actually have a venture capital division called InQtel, and they became our first investor. So the reason why I bring that up is because security is a huge emphasis for the company, and it has been really since we were founded. And that's really important because we're a network attached appliance at the end of the day. We're a software company, so we really need to be secure. So we're a software company, and our main product we have is Solstice. And some of you may know us for Solstice already, but we're going to be talking primarily about what are the latest things that we're doing today, which is Solstice Conference. So we'll be focused on that. Solstice Conference is all about bringing your own meeting, bringing your own device. So instead of you having to adapt to a room, the room's going to adapt to you instead. And that's a big change in how we're meeting today. And we're really excited to talk about that and actually do a demo today. The other thing that's going to be really cool to talk about today about Solstice Conference is how seamless we can make it between transitioning from proximate meetings or meetings inside your office to those that are remote, and how you can actually work with both scenarios at the same time. That's obviously very important and centered to today's world, and probably will continue. So we'll go ahead and go to that. We'll go into a little bit more detail about that as we go through the demo. So Solstice Conference is really about a collaboration platform that's being utilized for both proximate and remote users. So with Solstice, you get unlimited wireless content sharing. So that means that if you have a device and you want to share Excel to the screen and PowerPoint and maybe even a few images, you can do that. And so can the user that's sitting next to you. It's no problem. Everybody who uses our product, whether you're using a Windows device or Mac or iOS or Android, you all get the same user interface. If you're using our app, it'll look exactly the same. The content layout and control also looks the same, and that gives you a lot of flexibility on what's showing on the screen. If you want to move things out of the way and just let one piece of content take full screen, you can do that. The cloud conferencing bridge, we're going to be talking a little bit more about that today with the Solstice Conference demo we'll be doing. We're also monitoring what's happening in all the meeting spaces that are connected via a cloud account. And that gives you all sorts of analytical data. So that's also a really key aspect of Solstice in general. We're going to not just give you the infrastructure to have a better meeting, but we're also going to tell you how to monitor how things are going to allow you to make better decisions in the future. The product has a welcome screen, and that welcome screen is really customizable. And one of the cool things about it is actually it can run digital signage. So while you're not using it, it can run messaging or whatever you want to do for your corporate messaging. You can also run a lot of signage programs in the background. It's a very, very easy interface to get it to work, and so more to talk about there if you want later, Stephen. And then we also have a calendaring system built in, which allows you to basically schedule the room and clearly say what's available or when the meeting room is available. Everything is enterprise grade, very, very secure. We do pen testing, and we share that information under NDA with our end customers. So that's also really, really important for a product like ours. Right, so Solstice Conference. The great thing about our Solstice Conference is it's actually just a software update. So if you had a pod from us, you just need to do an update, and you'll get Solstice Conference. And we give you all that rich multimedia participant content sharing that we typically had, and allow you to port that through the Solstice Conference experience to external users. It's really, really cool. It's a product that avoids vendor lock-in. That means that when you walk into a typical meeting room, sometimes you have to use a system that's in there, and this sort of takes that away. You don't necessarily have to use that system anymore. You can use anything you want. Maybe one day you have to do a WebEx meeting because your customer is using WebEx, but then the next day you're going to use the house system, which maybe is Teams. Okay, doesn't matter. You can use any of them. Very, very flexible. We also, by design, avoid people having to double join and use unnecessary bandwidth. So when you come into a room, only one person has to be the meeting host. The rest are just going to share content through the local pod that's connected to the display and a camera like Avonic's. We have a one-touch start, which is really cool. So you get that sort of dedicated VC room system start, even though we've got a lot of complexity going on. And because we don't have a lot of equipment to use, it's really software driven. It's a lot more cost effective. So very, very cool. And I'm looking forward to, again, bring you guys through the demo today.
Jeff, I do have one question. Listening to your presentation,
Yeah.
You mentioned that that in corporate situations you've got this mix of different platforms that might be used. I was kind of always on the idea that most companies kind of select their default platform. So is this then caused by external parties that are kind of telling them, well, I can only connect over Teams, or how does that? How does that end up being an issue for these companies?
Yeah, so sometimes when you have a dedicated room, you really don't have much choice, and you have to use, maybe it's a Zoom room, and you have to use Zoom in that case. You can't really use another type of another codec. The problem is today is that we have customers and other people that we interact with all the time outside the office, and sometimes they're not permitted to use those systems. Maybe they can't use a Zoom, or they can't use WebEx. So what our solution allows you is a completely agnostic situation. So if today it's going to be a Zoom meeting, no problem. You walk in, it's already scheduled, it's intelligent, and it knows it's going to be a Zoom meeting because it's already on your calendar and it will launch Zoom. If you're going to be having a WebEx meeting because your partner outside the office, it's a vendor, it's somebody outside the corporation, wants to do WebEx, no problem. That can be scheduled in, and it'll automatically launch WebEx for you, and you don't have to change anything. So yeah, so really, really exciting change for us, and opportunity, in my opinion, for corporations to make their meeting spaces more adaptive.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks for that, Jeff.
No problem. So yeah, so basically, you know, one of the things we want to do today is talk about how we work with third-party companies like Avonic. Avonic and Mersive are actually very compatible, and the two cameras that have recently come out, in particular the CM22, which is quite new, are both fully compatible with Solstice Conference. So we're going to be doing a demo today with the CM22, and it's just going to show you how easy and flexible you can be to install a conference system in your meeting space without a lot of expense. Cool. And then, yeah, so basically what I'm going to be telling you about here is more or less what I'm going to be repeating in the demo. So what happens when you start a Solstice conference is you walk into a meeting room and you hit a little Solstice icon in your system tray, and it pulls up a little window that you see in the bottom right, and it asks you to enter a meeting code. And that's the one-step start. You just enter that meeting code, and then everything starts. Your desktop is automatically shared to the screen in the room. The conference that's the codec of choice that's being used that day is actually automatically opened, okay? And then from there, it's exactly the same that you always do in any kind of meeting. You select your video, and you select your audio, and you're done. Okay, so it's really a really easy way to start. And then the meeting room display is bridged out and through to the recipients. So both the people that are in the room and the externals will see exactly the same thing. Okay, it's using a calendar that's already built into Solstice to know exactly what you're going to be using already. It doesn't mean you can't do an ad hoc meeting, you can. But the best experience, the real one-touch start, is when it's already programmed in. You've got it in your meeting room and your calendar, and it just starts.
And that's a fully integrated solution.
Fully integrated solution, and the camera from Avonic is just plugged into the back of the pod through one of the USB connectors, and then the pod is connected to the display, and that's pretty much it. And you use the audio from either the display or other audio equipment that you use in the room. You get to choose that. And everything is basically done. The other thing that's great is that we don't have to use any virtual drivers. It's all using the native drivers. All that information is passed over IP wirelessly to the host, which would be usually on the laptop, and everything is controllable that way, which is really nice.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, I'm kind of excited about this part because you're actually gonna do a live demo now. You did tell me you actually need to get up and actually walk to another room. So this is the first time we're actually doing this. So I'm kind of excited how this is gonna work. So I'm gonna allow you to get up and walk to your demo room, and then in the meantime, I hope at one point I'll get a signal that you're there and that we can continue. So I'll let you go for now, and we'll be back to you within a couple of seconds, like half a minute, I think, and then we'll see each other again for the live demo of the system.
Sounds perfect. Yeah, this is my favorite part. I much prefer to do the live demo than actually talk about doing a demo. So let's do it.
I can imagine. We'll see you in just a little bit. So we'll let Jeff walk to his the other room, or the demo room, which I believe is on the same floor or not, I don't know. So it's gonna be a little interesting to see how long he takes to get there. In the meantime, I can tell you that if you take a look at our website, avshow.online, we're actually putting up a live demos for customers to attend. Please go there, and then we'll just schedule a meeting for you. And also, we've got multiple webinars actually coming up in this series, which are also available already to subscribe to on our website, avshow.online. I'm just going to look to my side here, kind of getting a little notice that we should be able to switch to Jeff. So, Jeff, hopefully we can now kind of switch over to you.
Okay, let's get started. We're in the meeting room now, and we've got about 10 minutes to get through this, and let's review Solstice Conference. So Solstice just makes a better meeting room, okay? It's a better room system, and you combine our solution with equipment like the Avonic CM22, you've pretty much got everything you need to do a video conference today with dynamic collaborative content. So you know us more for wireless collaboration. That's what our heritage is, and we have a lot of customers around the world that are using our solution, and we get great feedback from them. In fact, it affects our roadmap all the time. And about 2 years ago, we were asking for some feedback, and one of our key customers said, hey, we love Solstice Conference, it's awesome, but what can you do about the video conferencing equipment in the room? Is there any way to sort of combine everything and make that all one seamless experience? And we thought that was a great idea. So we set off to work on that, and we came up with basically 3 things that are forming issues within a typical video conference today. Number 1, a typical video conference room is vendor locked, right? So if you walk into, say, a Zoom room or a Polycom room, there's not much else you can do with that room. If you want to hold a WebEx meeting, or you want to hold a Skype meeting or a Teams meeting, you're out of luck, and that really should not happen. The second thing is, when you walk into a meeting room and you want to do a soft codec meeting with WebEx or Skype or whatever, it's not usually a one-step start experience. It's not that smooth experience that you get with those vendor-locked VC rooms. And number 3, up until now, content has primarily been ignored by these VC companies. If you want to share content, you're limited to one piece of content, and that content is actually being shared up into the infrastructure, their own infrastructure, and coming back again, which means the quality is not going to be nearly as good as content that's being shared proximately in the room to the screen, okay? So we have all those 3 things in combination, and ultimately, we want to have a seamless meeting. And so we've worked on that, obviously, and now we think solved almost all the pieces of the puzzle. And you get 3 things now. Number 1, you get a one-step start, okay, which is great. No wasting time when you come into a meeting room. Just that simple one-step start that you get from a dedicated VC system, you actually get that with Solstice Conference. Number 2, we're agnostic to what's in the room, all right? So if you walk into a room, it's no longer a dedicated room. It can be any video conferencing room you want. It's a Skype room, it's a Zoom room, it's a WebEx room, okay? You're using your own soft codec, you're bringing your own device, you're bringing your own meeting, and the meeting room is adopting to you rather than you having to adopt to the meeting room. Okay? And number 3, everything is wireless, right? So you don't have to worry about cables or dongles or anything like that. It all just connects together seamlessly and it just works. All right, so let me take you through a few things and the setup. Number 1, let me just point out real quick the agnosticism. So you notice here on the list of meetings that are coming up, we've got a Zoom meeting, excuse me. We have a Ring Central meeting here, and then the next meeting is actually going to be a Teams meeting. So Solstice Conference works with any of these codecs. It doesn't matter what you're bringing in, it's all going to work. The pod here is what runs Solstice Conference. You didn't have to change out hardware to get Solstice Conference, it's just a software update. So that's also very key. That pod is connected to the display, and it's also connected to the Avonic CM22, okay, through the USB connection in the back. And the pod is obviously connected to the network as well, and that's pretty much it. That's what you need to get everything set up. So now let's do this. Let's go through the demo and see how this all works together. Okay, so I'm going to sit down here at my computer, and I'm going to play the meeting host today, okay? Only one person basically needs to be the meeting host. And all I have to do is come down and I find Solstice in my system tray, and I open that up and I enter the meeting room code. Okay, so it's 4823. Okay, so once I've done that, 3 things will happen. Number 1, my desktop wirelessly appears on the room display, okay? Because the people in the room need to be able to see, obviously, what's going on in the room. Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and start my video. Cool. Patricia, can you see us? Or can you see me?
Hello, Jeff.
Okay, great. Now I'm going to go ahead and invite my colleague to come in. Erti's going to come and sit down. First, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to share my screen, okay? Sharing my screen means that I'm actually sharing the screen that's actually in the room, all right? So this is much different. And by doing that, I'm going to be able to bridge whatever I'm sharing today through Solstice Conference out to the meeting recipients. So let's go ahead and do that. Cool. All right, great. Patricia, can you see what's on the screen now?
Yes, I see your green smart deck.
Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, so now Erti's going to go ahead and share some content. And while he's doing that, let me point something out that's really, really key. Erti is not having to join the meeting in order to share content. He's coming in and sharing content to the screen through Solstice like he always has. No difference. And that way, he hasn't had to double join, right? That means it's eating up network bandwidth. And of course, if you have 3 or 4 other people joining, that can really cause some havoc, right? Because if you're having to share content, oh no, where's the meeting link? Where do I find that? Oh wait, you have to stop sharing so I can start sharing. Then all of a sudden my mic is going, your mic is going, we get all this echoing going on. It's really not a seamless experience. This way, we've got one point that's sharing all the way out through all the recipients. Everybody can see what's going on. So Patricia, can you see everything that's being shared?
Yes, I see some windmills now.
Yeah? Okay, cool.
Wind generator, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. The other thing is, of course, we can share with other devices as well. So let me go ahead and do that. I've got my Android device here. Just go ahead and enter the meeting code just like I did before. Again, I'm not having to join the meeting. I'm just joining the pod and the screen in the room. Cool, so now I've got this inking tool and I can go ahead and start marking things up, okay? So I can point out things to people that are in the room approximately, but also those who are remote, and I can start marking things up. So I can say, hey, Patricia, can you take a look at, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Can you see that?
Yes, I see a yellow circle.
Great.
Now an arrow.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so there you have it. You can also share even all the annotation that you get through Solstice Inc. Built into all the mobile devices. Doesn't matter which one you have, Android or iOS, it all works. And that also gets passed through to the meeting recipients. So let me sum up a couple things. Again, Solstice Conference, you don't need to change out the hardware. You just download it, it's on the pod, and then you can start to use Solstice Conference. Number two, all this activity that's happening in the meeting space actually gets shared up into the customer's cloud account. And in that cloud account, you can do all sorts of analytical analysis of all the data that's been captured and allow you to make better decisions about what's happening in your meeting spaces. So, for example, Airty and I came in with 2 Windows laptops today, but maybe another colleague comes in with a Mac, or other people come in with iOS devices. We can track and see what kind of content is being shared from what kind of device, and capture all that information to make sure that we're prepared for actually addressing the kind of devices that are in our meeting spaces. And of course, we can also check for things like meeting longevity, how good the meeting was, because we actually give you a meeting rating, star meeting rating at the end of each meeting. We can capture all that, goes into your cloud account, allows you to get a lot better data for future planning for your meeting spaces. So that's it. Hopefully that was really useful for you. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to Stephen and we'll wrap this up.
Okay, Jeff, thank you so much for that demo. And now, of course, because he had to walk away from his desk to the demo room, now he needs to get back from the demo room to his desk, because, of course, I still want to answer or ask him some questions about the demo that he gave and the products and the vision of Mersive. So hopefully that's going to go relatively quick. And that gives me an opportunity to tell you again about avshow.online. So go there, subscribe to our other webinars. I think actually Jeff is running this time. Because I'm kind of getting a signal that he's already back. Okay, that was faster than when you actually went there, Jeff.
Yeah, did my best.
And you don't even look tired. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Jeff, thank you so much for the demo. I think a live product demo is always the best, right? It gives the best experience, and to show the combination with the CM22, our new 4K huddle room camera. Jeff, I do have, like, when I knew when we were going to do this webinar, I kind of immediately thought of a couple of questions for you, because Immersive has a certain position in the market, and this question is just very logical for you guys, right? The global pandemic where we're in today for everyone has changed things dramatically, but we're all kind of craving to kind of be able to go back to work and to go back to the office. The return to work thing for you guys is an important one, right? With wireless collaboration solutions, you have the touchless experience. So how do you see that return to work happen, and how does that interact with your products?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that. And also it really goes back to one of the slides you had earlier in your presentation. I wouldn't necessarily call it return to work, but also return to school, because we have solutions both for education and for corporations. More or less, our business is split 70-30. Higher education in particular is very strong for us. And, when you have all these people going back to school or to work, you have this sort of scenario where you have to adapt to both the people that are there in person with you, and then of course you've got all the people that are dialing in from home. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, we have solutions that allow you to work, with your own device. You can come into a meeting room or a classroom with your device, don't have to touch anything, and you can already interact with Solstice. And of course, a camera in the room as well. So if you want to run a conference and you want to involve people that are local and the people from home, it's no problem, you can do that. And content, which is a big part of a meeting, of course, is not ignored there. Okay, everybody can share content just like they've been doing, but you're not limited to that one piece of content that's having to go up into the video conferencing system's cloud and come back. And then other people are having to join, at the same time. When they do that, like I was saying, that causes a lot of havoc. People don't know the meeting key. They don't have this or that. Mics are, conflicting with each other, causing echo. So, I think Solstice Conference is front and center in that. And then we have other things as well coming, including a workplace wellness initiative. That's going to be something you'll be hearing more. Yeah.
Wellness initiative. So you're actually going to kind of rent a truck and put a sauna on it and just visit your customers.
That's right. Massage chairs. Yeah. No.
Because if you do that, right, just make sure you stop by Delft-Gouw in the Netherlands at one point.
I'll make sure. Yeah. I'll make sure to invite the Avonic team. Yeah. No question. This is all about just the ability for users in either a company or even a school and the administrators to make it a little bit easier for everybody to find the right room, to find places to meet with customers or even clients and your colleagues in an easier way. So that's what it's all about. You'll hear a lot more from that about us. You'll be hearing a lot more from us about that in the future.
Okay, well, we'll closely monitor that. So thanks for that. I
think I've got a question for you, actually, Steve.
Oh, okay.
If you don't mind. Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about, because you have your CM22 and the CM44, and you also have other equipment. What exactly how do you choose the right camera for the right room?
For collaboration or meeting room, right? It really depends on the actual room itself, right? So I think the design starting point is the same as with every project. So how big is the room, and what are you going to be doing in this room, right? It makes a big difference if you're in a big boardroom, for instance, or in a small huddle room. I've seen pictures, for instance, of a huddle room which was very wide but not very deep, which means that you need a very, very wide angle camera, because otherwise people will simply not be in the picture. The same thing goes for huddle rooms, and we all know these setups, and I don't know how useful they're going to be in when we transition back to work, but we know these setups where there's a screen and then there's actually seats almost on the screen itself, right? So very close to the edge of the screen, there's always the first seats. So that's the viewing angle, very, very important. And secondly, and this is something that we focus on a lot here at Avonic, is low light performance. And when we talk to people, they always kind of think, well, low light performance is like, it's not going to be dark in my meeting room. No, it's not dark in your meeting room, but by de facto, the cameras have always been designed for studio lighting, like I have here, and they optimally perform in a scenario like that. But what happens if the lighting in the room is not great, or maybe a bit older, or you've got maybe some traditional lighting and LED lighting combined, right? You've got kind of issues with that. Or, which is something that we're also seeing a lot, is these fishbowl type meeting rooms, right? Where the core of the building is where the meeting rooms are, and then the actual facade of the building is also glass, and so there's a lot of light, which is very nice to work in, but it's not traditionally like backlight is not an ideal scenario for a camera. So you need to look at a camera which can actually compensate these things as well. These are all things that are supported in our cameras, but these are definitely important things to take into consideration. And also, there's a lot of webcam solutions, they don't allow you to really change anything more than just the brightness and the contrast, and that's it. So if you walk into a challenging situation, you want to have a real integration camera. So that's what we try to do, but in general, those are the guidelines to select a camera for those type of rooms.
Great tips, makes sense.
Jeff, there was one thing which has a little bit to do with my history. I spent quite a few years in the broadcast industry. A trend that has been going on there for years was already the move from, I would say, baseband video to IP, but also the effect of software, especially management tools and cloud management and monitoring and analysis tools for that industry, which make a lot of sense if you have a lot of satellite uplinks and want to monitor and provision them. This trend is now also kind of taking more and more place in the Pro AV space, although I think it's kind of slow. How do you look at that? Because you could have all these Solstice units deployed, maybe even in multiple offices worldwide. How do you look at that as a trend for Mersive?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question again, and I touched on this a little bit at the end of my demo. But we have a very key part of the Solstice solution is Solstice Cloud. So Solstice Cloud is basically an account that everybody gets when they get a Solstice pod. It doesn't cost anything to get started, and then basically what it's going to do is it's going to capture all of the data that you're from the meeting spaces, and it's getting it from lots of different pieces of information. The connections in terms of the devices that are actually using Solstice, it's going to give you all that information. It's also going to give you, even now with the camera attached with Solstice Conference, it's actually going to give you live information about how many people are in the room. That's also really important, and it's going to be a key segment of our wellness initiative if you think about that in the future, because we're going to actually know, hey, are people still in the room? Are they not? It's going to provide you information about whether or not people showed up for the meeting or did they not show up for the meeting. It's all very generic data, fully GDPR compliant, fully secure. We're not trying to get information about individuals. We're just trying to get information about whether people are in the room or are they not, and how many are in the room, and how long are they staying in the room. So did the meeting run on time? Did it go over? Did it run short? This feeds up into the cloud and gives some fantastic statistics in the end of the day for the administrators to understand how their meeting rooms are being used.
Yeah, there's as Avonic, our strategy here is actually also quite simple, right? We and personally, I kind of find it strange that in some in a lot of products, everything is kind of proprietary, as in a way that you cannot kind of open it up to centralized management systems, for instance. Our strategy here is fully open API and making sure that whatever the customer wants as a management, monitoring, analysis, however you want to call it, that they can actually do that. So that's very much in line with your solution. And so of course it's great if you're a IT manager or the AV manager, you're sitting in New York and you can actually see that all your pods which are in Europe or in the US or wherever over the world are actually active and everything is working fine. And even better, right, for upgrades and updates, it's so easy to have those things available centralized. So completely understand where you guys are going with that. Yeah.
The central management allows you a lot of that, and because we have our pod is also open API, you have a lot of controls to allow you to manage everything centrally, which is really key, and deploy centrally. But there's actually another question I had for you, if you don't mind. Hopefully we still have time for this.
Yeah, sure.
The thing I was wondering about, you actually pointed out one of your larger meeting spaces in the beginning. It was a very large boardroom or something like that. So, I think traditionally some of the cameras that you have are more for smaller meeting spaces. So how do you adapt to a larger meeting space like that?
Well, it's a good question, Jeff. Thanks for asking, because it's actually the other way around. Traditionally, we have been very much focused on the bigger rooms, especially conferencing, city halls, town hall meetings, government, parliaments, these type of applications, education. So typically bigger rooms than actually the huddle room. So we have a very nice lineup of cameras actually above or next to the CM22 and the CM44 that can do that. In the example that you saw, which was actually a large boardroom, because there is such a lot of people in the room, each position actually has their own microphone. So based on the microphone position, there's a system behind that actually steers the camera to that position. But in the end, a system which is more advanced like that still produces one video output, which the video output would still need to be routed into the Solstice and would allow to have multiple people share their content. So the thing that changes is for us is I would say the outputs and the connectivity on the camera, plus the actual zoom lens and the capabilities of the camera itself. And we kind of go up all the way from 4K PTZ with only digital zoom and 5 times optical zoom in the CM44, all the way up to 30 times zoom in our flagship CM73 products, which have a lot more flexibility and actually could still work fully on IP as well. So we have systems that are running based on software using full IP connectivity. So we have a nice product line to kind of fill everything from a huddle room setup all the way to a very large meeting room. For instance, in Croatia there was the EU presidency. Although the real life meetings were relatively short because of the current situation, that's a pretty big room where the EU is having their meeting. So that's a completely other side of the scale. But we can provide to that, and we can provide to the other room and everything in between.
That's great. That's excellent.
So actually, a very good question, Jeff. Thanks for that. One thing, and then we kind of need to wrap up here. so there's a lot of things going on this last 12 months for every company in our industry, and it's been challenging for every company, first of all, to just make sure that you remain in operation and able to produce your product and connect with your customers. But the second thing is also more the strategic vision for the company. We've had these discussions here internally as well. And I was just wondering, for Mersive, is the current pandemic, is this of influence of your roadmap? So did this kind of influence certain choices you made in the past because of the current situation?
Yeah, I guess that's a two-part question, or two answers to that one. The first answer is yes, it absolutely has had influence on our roadmap, and also no, in that a lot of the roadmap that we already have was thankfully very purpose-built for a scenario like we have today. So Solstice Conference, for example, that really came right at the right time. That again allows those who are in the office, because the scenario right now is usually that only a few people are allowed to go back into the office at a time, because they have a maximum amount of people that could be in there versus the people at home. So how do you kind of keep teams together, meetings to continue? Solstice Conference really helps with that. But it definitely has influenced our roadmap in that we've probably forwarded or taken into consideration things that we thought maybe we would be doing a lot further out. We're actually going to do them a lot sooner, because we know that's going to be very beneficial for those who are using Solstice today. And of course, allow people to have better meetings and to help with collaboration in this very complex and difficult scenario we have.
Yeah, I understand that completely. Like the unique situation that has been created is that almost overnight, the video conference platforms, Teams, Zooms, and all the others, they've become fully accepted, not just gradually accepted, which was going on for many years, but now overnight it's viable technology. This is the only option, so there was no choice anymore, and this has definitely influenced a lot of our customers' business in a positive way. So I completely understand what you're saying. Jeff, I want to thank you for your participation today. I appreciate the demo, appreciate the insights on the philosophy at Mersive and the upcoming initiatives. Looking forward to receiving the wellness initiative with the sauna here in front of the building. And for now, I just wanted to thank you. And of course, forever, based on this webinar, we'll remember cappuccino can only be ordered in the morning. That's the golden rule.
Definitely. That's the most important thing to remember. Yeah, thanks, Stephen. Thanks to the Avonic team, and thanks for everybody for joining today. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Jeff Meyer, the General Manager EMEA at Mersive. That brings us back to wrapping up this webinar, almost the end of our webinar. There is something I do want to share with you, which is the AV show that's coming up. But before I do that, and I did realize I was actually going too fast, the recording will be made available to you. So we'll make it available to you via email. Product videos can be found on our YouTube channel, of course, also on the Mersive YouTube channel, and you can connect to us via avonic.eu. Also, Mersive has a 30-day free trial on the Solstice Conference, and you can go to mersive.com to actually visit their website and initiate that trial period for yourself. Then coming up very soon is the AV show here at Avonic. I'm standing in front of the logo, which I shouldn't do, which is going to start on the 1st of February and stops on the 12th of February. This is actually a booth that we built here in our building, the other side of the building. We're going to be able to show you around in an actual trade show setup. So if you haven't set up your meeting yet, please go to avshow.online. And if you're visiting the website, there's also very nice other webinars that will be coming up. We're going to be doing the streaming solutions together with Roland and a Dutch integrator called Smash AV on Wednesday, the 3rd of February. So that kind of gives you some information on how to build streaming solutions, but also some of the do's and don'ts of building streaming solutions. On Thursday, the 4th of February, we'll focus on education. The current pandemic has influenced education a lot, but there's also been a lot of things already deployed before the whole pandemic. We'll hear from the University of Wiener Neustadt in Austria, and we'll also be joined by one of the product experts at Kinley. And then on the 9th of February, Tuesday, the 9th of February, we'll be talking about esports, the rise of PTZ use in esports, which you're going to be doing live from the studio of Inside Esports, which is in the north part of the country. For now, I wanted to thank you for joining, and I hope to see you soon at one of the other Avonic webinars.